Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. For today's video, I thought I could give you a little fall book recommendations type of vibe. Next to me I have 4 piles and I quickly want to talk to you about all of these books because I think they are perfect for the fall time. I know this is maybe a little late because we're already like almost halfway through October, but I still wanted to give some recommendations because we love fall. Also, my hair color is different. That's just something. And I also have the cutest fall nails ever. So I feel like that just justifies this video even more. So I have 4 piles, as I mentioned. I have fantasy, kind of queer books. Then we have mystery type of vibes. And also some literary fiction. So yeah, I think we are going to start off with the fantasy pile because I feel like fall is the perfect season to read fantasy books in, so let's start with these. First of all, we actually have a graphic novel called The Moth Keeper. You might know that I just recently got this and I actually love this. This is such a cute and cozy book for fall. It just follows this little like village that lives during the night, and they have this role that is called the Moth Keeper, kind of the person who takes care of moths, and they are important for the village. So a very fun and like really interesting, cool just story about, you know, self-discovery and stuff like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. Very quick and easy to read. Next up we have The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. This is such a fall-coded book because, I don't know, this is a trilogy and there are also some like prequels. If you really want to get invested, I would definitely recommend that. The trilogy is so great, I just finished that. I still haven't read the prequels, but I'm definitely going to. So this book basically follows Katniss, and she lives in a world that is very separated by classes. And it is actually districts, so she lives in the 12th district, which is kind of the worst one. There are these so-called Hunger Games, where 2 people from every single district are chosen, 1 boy and 1 girl, and they have to go into this arena and fight the kids from the other districts. And she stands in for her sister who gets chosen, but then she says that she's going to do it. And this is such a crazy, like, it's not really fantasy, I would say, it's more so dystopian, but it's still really, really good for the fall times. Now, a book that I think isn't actually talked about enough, and that is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mehrer. And I read this like 2 years ago, I think. This is also a series. I still haven't read the 2nd and 3rd book, but I definitely want to. This just hasn't been on my mind that much, but it is so good because this is literally what the title says. You follow a woman and she is literally the assistant to the villain, but you kind of figure out very quickly that this villain might not be the bad guy. So yeah, I don't know, this is just the banter and everything is just so good, and the storyline is crazy. And the vibes, it's just very fun. Now this is basically just me recommending very fun fantasy series, but next up we have the Throne of Glass series. This is the prequel, the Assassin's Blade. The first official book is Throne of Glass, but I personally would recommend starting with this one. There's kind of a lot of debate about it. Some people say you should read this like 3rd or 4th. I think you should read this first because then you get the chronological order of how things happen. Otherwise, you kind of get the backstory of the main character later, which I think also makes sense, but I personally just enjoy it more if it's in the right like chronological order. But basically, you follow Selena Sardothian, and she is one of the best assassins, like basically in the kingdom, and she goes on a bunch of missions, and that's kind of the vibe. For the prequel, you just get to know the character. There's also some romance, and it's just very good and fun and amazing. This is by Sarah J Maas, by the way, I think I forgot to mention. And This whole series, it's like a 8-book series if you include the prequel, which you definitely should. And it is just so amazing, such great characters, and I would definitely recommend this, especially for the fall, obviously. So yeah. And the last one I would recommend is the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I don't actually have the first book as a physical copy with me because a friend borrowed it, but that's why I'm holding the second. No, this is the third book. The third book. The Caraval series follows these two sisters, Scarlett and Donatella. There is a game called Caraval that takes place every now and then, and they participate in that game, but it's not just like a normal game or anything. Obviously, it's very magical and whimsical, and you kind of have to figure out what's real and what's not, and it's just so good. So yeah, would definitely recommend this, obviously. And that was actually it for our little fantasy pile. Now I think we are going to move on to some little mystery / thriller books, because I love reading these in the fall. They're just very fun and quick and easy. So the first one we have is called The Society for Soulless Girls by Laura Steven. This basically follows these two girls that go to a school that was closed for 10 years because 4 students died, and they both kind of are very intrigued to figure out why they died, because some people say it's like suicide and stuff like that, but they're convinced that it was something else, and they're trying to figure out what exactly it was. So that is very crazy. This book is packed with plot twists and also some really intriguing characters, and also a little bit of a romance sprinkled in, of course. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this one, so great for the fall time. Next up, we have a classic by this point. It is If We Were Villains by Emil Rio. This is like dark academia. It's like literally, if you haven't read this, why? It's so good. It's so crazy because you have this group of friends and there are secrets and somebody dies, and it's a very crazy book, but so good. And yeah, just amazing vibes. Next up, we have The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This book kind of follows a woman who moves into her family's lake house, and she notices some weird stuff going on and kind of wants to figure out what is happening. And it is such an insane book. Seriously, this story had me on the edge of my seat. It is so insane, and maybe this like little summary wasn't that intriguing, but I swear to God, this is crazy. So if you haven't read it, definitely read it. And now the last one for this pile is also a pretty popular book. I recommend this all the time because it's just amazing. But that is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a trilogy, so if you really get invested, you get invested. This follows a girl named Pip, and she wants to solve this mystery, or this murder actually, that happened I think 5 years prior, and she's very invested in it, and it is so good. There's also an amazing subplot of romance, and the series is very great. I would definitely recommend this. This is so amazing. It's also a show, and I love that show because Emma Myers actually plays Pippa, and I love her as an actress, and I think she portrays her so well, so you could also watch that afterwards, and I think they actually did the book justice, so read it. Next up, we have my little literary fiction pile. I have 3 books, but I don't have all of the physical copies. One of the books is The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. I talked about this quite a bit over the last few months because this is such a good book. You basically follow this bookshop owner, A.J. Fikry, and he just lives his life, and there's a little girl that kind of is left in his bookshop, and then he starts taking care of her, and it's just such an amazing story, and I love it so much. There are a lot of comparisons of like life and books, and I really love that, so I would definitely recommend this. It's just so amazing and such a good book, especially for readers. Next up, we have The Wishing. You basically can't even see these, but I love holding them. They're so adorable. Anyway, next up we have The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This follows a teacher, and she kind of wants to adopt this boy that is like not really her student, but something like that. And she can't because she isn't financially stable enough to take care of him, and he is like a foster child, so he goes from house to house and he absolutely hates it. And then there is this really famous like children's book author, and he has kind of a game planned on his island, and some people get chosen to partake in that game, and they have the chance to win a lot of money. So obviously our main character partakes in that game, and it is so great. It's kind of mystery-esque, but also just so good, and absolutely love this one. And then lastly, Dead Poets Society by anna.carolinayc. This basically follows just a bunch of boys at a school, and they basically just learn to love like poetry and stuff like that. And this is also a movie. I haven't watched the movie actually. I think the book came after the movie, but I still think the book was good. I do have to say that I thought some like themes almost of this book weren't good in my opinion, but that is probably because this is set in the 1950s and it was written in like the 1980s, I think. And there are just these like women being treated basically like objects sometimes, and also a lot of general violence and like kind of a lot of abusive fathers. I didn't really like those parts. I thought that was just not really good, obviously, but I still think the like main themes of this book, and I actually also underlined some things because it was still a really good story, but just keep that in mind. If you're like sensitive to that, don't read this, but if you don't mind, then I would still recommend it. I do have to say those themes kind of threw me off when reading it a little bit, so it isn't like a favorite book of mine, but it's still very fall-esque and fun to read during the fall time. I actually have to leave like in a few minutes, so I'm just going to pause this video and continue it when I get back home in a couple of hours. Hello! I'm back from my little appointment in the city, and now I can finish my little fall book recommendations. We actually only have one little stack left, and that stack is the queer books that are mostly romances, so yeah, I'm going to talk about these now. I'm very excited. I actually have one more that I don't have a copy of because my sister has that, and that is Loveless by Alice Oseman. That is such a fun story. It's kind of about a character discovering that she's asexual and how that whole process is, and it is set during the beginning of college or uni, and I really enjoyed that. I think that was so fall vibey, and just kind of how difficult it is to come to terms with that, and yeah, I just really like that, so I quickly wanted to recommend that one as well. And then we also have Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This will not be the last book I'm going to recommend by her, but this is basically about a girl named Frances, and she starts a kind of podcast, I think, with another person, and it is kind of about like self-discovery and stuff like that, and I really enjoyed this one as well. I also think it is so perfect for a like rainy fall evening. Next up we have Imogen, obviously, by Becky Albertalli. This one is about Imogen. Wow. And she starts college and everybody in her like friend group is queer and she's the only straight person, and she then discovers that she might not be as straight as she actually thought she was. I really liked this one. The vibes were great and it was so cute and amazing. Then we have One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is the author of Red, White and Royal Blue, if you know that book. This one is a sapphic story of two girls who, it is set in New York, and it is kind of has like an element of magical realism, I would say, because there is this subway and there is this person on the subway, but it feels like this person can't get off the subway, and these two people start falling in love, and it is such a good story. Next up, we have the last book by Elsa Osman that I would like to recommend, which is the Heartstopper series by her. And this is a graphic novel series, and it follows Nick and Charlie as they start becoming friends and then more than friends. And I love this series so much. I'm actually currently rereading it for the 3rd time because I love it that much. And I also watched the TV show like 2 times or 3 times. I think it's 3 times probably. And it is just so amazing, so adorable, and not just like the typical romance, because you also have a bunch of other queer characters that get introduced throughout the books, and you also have topics of mental illness, and I really like that because it just makes these characters so much more like vulnerable, and they don't just have like the personality that they're queer, they also have more personality than that, and I really like that. Here's the thing, you figure out when the book is set because it's like written throughout, but it feels fall vibey, and I just want to recommend it because it's overall a very good series, and you can basically read this all the time because it is like set throughout the entire year, but I specifically feel like fall is a great season to read cozy, amazing books, and this is a cozy, amazing book, so that is how I justify that you should read this in the fall. The very last book I would like to recommend is called Nobody in Particular by Sophie Gonzalez. I actually just read this one at the beginning of September, I think, and oh my god, I literally can't shut up about this book because since I've read this, I have been wanting to reread it so bad, but I haven't because I also have other books that I really want to read. So this book basically follows Danny and Rose, and Danny is just your average gal. She got to go to this really fancy boarding school because she managed to get a scholarship, and then there's also Rose, who is a princess, of course. And they kind of start getting to know each other, and I love this book so much. It literally feels like Young Royals, but sapphic. I mean, do I need to say more? I don't think so. I love this book so much. This was a 5-star for me, even though that's not the point. You should still read it. It's also very fall vibey because it's set at like the beginning of the school year, so that's like basically fall. And I love it. It's just so great, and you should read it. These were all of my fall book recommendations. I really hope that you might read some of these. If you have any other fall book recommendations, be sure to let me know. I really hope you enjoyed my little fall book recommendations video, and if you did, maybe like, comment, or subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!